מזכירת העיתונות של זלנסקי לשעבר שברחה מאוקראינה הגיעה לראיון חשיפה על זלנסקי לאנטישמית אקר קרלסון.
The thing is that I've never seen him taking drugs. However, for writing my book, I met a lot of people who confirmed that they saw him taking drugs in different clubs. Only one saw him taking drugs in 2021. I learned who is the supplier from 95th Quartal, and I met that person. And
you met Zelensky's drug dealer?
I'm not saying he's a drug dealer. He's a guy from 95th Quartal. And
what's 95th Quartile?
95th Quartal, it's entertaining company of Zelensky. 95th Quartal, where he comes from. It's the guy who is an actor, and he behaved really in a strange way. His eyes and his behavior.
Is Zelensky using cocaine?
Again, I have not seen that. So the thing is that
but you spoke
all these people are talking about cocaine. Yes. The second thing is every time when we were preparing to the interview, I was reading the notes, explaining who is the journalist, what he needs to say, the messaging, the questions. He does not like reading, to be frank. Usually he's more, tries to listen to you. And then he takes his 15 minutes in the bathroom. And I'm telling you that I was always surprised that he was going out a different person, really always a different person.
So you'd be briefing him.
Then he goes to the bathroom, he spends there 15 minutes, and he's going out energized, full of, action, ready to say everything.
Sniffing.
So I don't want to say something that I didn't see. But,
I understand.
But I met too many people. I met doctors. I met, people who spent time with him in the clubs. And I talked to the people who has been knowing him for 20, 25 years. I think it's obvious for Zelensky too, but he thrives on this war. He thrives on this war. Why would he finish it?
Well, because it's destroying his country.
I don't think he thinks about that. In 2024, I was talking to a very smart guy who knows Russia and knows Ukraine very well. He used to be an advisor to the president. He's an American, by the way. And he said me that Zelensky would finish the war till the end of 2024. And I said, no, he won't. He said, why? He's losing the territories. Russians will go to Dnipropetrovsk and other regions, Zaporizhia, Odessa, Kharkiv, Sumy, Chernigiv. He names all those regions of Ukraine. And I'm like, this is not the reason for him to stop. And the guy could not understand. He could not. He's like, but why? You're going to lose the territories. You're going to lose more. And I'm saying, this is not how he thinks. He imagines the lives his thinking is limited with thinking of what he sees, of his beautiful golden office, And the guy was like, okay, they're in Zaporizhia. I'm like, not a reason. They're in Dnipro, not a reason. They're there. And then the guy says, okay, there needs to be somewhere a point where he will understand that Russians are winning. Maybe when Russians are with the guns in his office. I'm like, yeah, that's where he will understand they are.
So it sounds
about that. He was saying if somebody does something bad, we need to punish them and send to the front line. That was his statements. But there are people who are sent there just because they're critics of Zelensky,
Do you know anyone who's been sent for criticizing Zelensky?
There were people from the security services who were sent publicly, and there were a few people who were sent there.
What's it like, the front line?
There are different front lines. Some people find front line, in a cozy place, just wearing the uniform and playing the role of some bloggers. But I know people who survived when their units were killed. It's terrifying. My mother was treating soldiers who were sent in bad uniforms during winter to another side, and their fingers and limbs were cut off because they were frozen. every year Ukrainians are collecting money for their uniforms, necessary stuff. Women are cooking food for the soldiers. No, I'm not kidding. There are a lot of volunteers.
But the West has sent hundreds of billions of dollars, and they don't have gloves or food? Where'd all the money?
They have, some of them have food, some of them are looking for more, And usually people are collecting even money for weapons or for Starlinks.
What about all the hundreds of billions from the...
Yeah, you need to track
West?
it. You need to track it. But look, there is a scandal right now in Ukraine when the Minister of Energy was fired, and it is now known that he helped money laundering $112 million. $112 million. And those money should have been used for the shield for energy sector. And it's a huge scandal in Ukraine. There is proven stuff by the law enforcement. And behind the whole scheme is the guy who worked with Russian mafia. That's amazing. You should go and look into it. But there is the whole scheme with the offshore companies, with the names behind. And the Minister of Energy himself got $12 million for this. So it's around 10%. And 10% is usually paid for those who help establish the scheme, right? So where is the 90%? That is the question.
I know I've said this before, but I'm amazed that more people from Zelensky's government haven't come forward to say this in the West, in English.
Those very close people to Zelensky were actually taking percentage from some governmental programs. I mean, illegal percentage.
Yes.
And he told Zelensky that they are taking really too much already, like really they're insisting on very big amounts. And Zelensky smiled and said, good job, guys, good job, guys. And he was not joking. The minister says he was not joking. He was really happy it was happening. And then the minister thought, we're not going far with this. Yeah, he resigned later. Now in the government, there are very few people who are professionals. They are there, but very few. Mostly Zelensky puts their loyalists who will never say no and who create the agenda that absolutely is out of mind. He just wants something, like if he is writing his scripts, of the servant of the people, and then he just once he demands this and people go and, they just make up some reports and he goes with these reports and says that this, I need Goebbels propaganda if you want. I need Goebbels propaganda. I need thousands of talking heads of Goebbels propaganda.
Meaning Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist.
Yes, that was Major Hitler's propagandist. And we were like so shocked. We stopped breathing. But okay, the thing is that I believe what happened in 2022, he's got his thousands of talking heads globally, right? And many of us were not supposed to be his heads. We just, we were standing for the country. We believed that he would stop the war soon, that we needed to be united. We believed in that. And 4 years later, Ukrainians don't believe in Zelensky's agenda anymore. But still, there are thousands of talking heads. And many of them just get paid for that,
Who do they get paid by?
Different stuff. For instance, if they are asked to the conferences for moderation or for writing positive message, it's called positive message about Ukraine. Some oligarchs can pay, or, it goes from grants or something like this. In Ukraine, obviously, the experts get paid from the structures that are close to the government. Those are the biggest patriots, or, grants from European Union, for instance. And, I'm not saying that these people are bad. No, they are not. In many ways, they just not are aware of what's happening. They're talking to each other or to some experts or to the government. They still believe in the legend that Zelensky has some ratings. And by the way, just a week ago, I was talking to an insider from the office of the president. And again, I was working for the office of the president. I know there are different ratings that are closed just for the eyes of the president and few in the team, and ratings that are presented to the to the public, right? And the insider from politics who saw the ratings said that Zelensky is non-electable. His ratings are so low. I was looking at those ratings in 2023 and 2024 every month, and his ratings were very, very low, getting lower and lower and lower. And here is another big revelation for you. When Donald Trump went out and named Zelensky a dictator, and when he was talking about low ratings of Zelensky, of course, Zelensky said that Donald Trump is influenced by Russians, and this is all Russian for the truth. He had private conversation with Putin where he promised Putin that Ukraine will never join NATO. So his rhetoric...
In 2019?
Yes, it was December 2019, and there was a personal conversation. There were very few people know what he promised. He said no NATO because that Ukraine has never, was never close to NATO. For being the part of NATO, first of all, we need to have market economy and be a reformed country. It's not like just Trump doesn't want Ukraine in NATO or Biden doesn't want Ukraine. It's not about names. It's just like we're not ready for NATO. There is no consensus to be NATO. It's imagination. It's lies. He stick to this fact of joining NATO knowing that it's impossible. He was pushing the impossible agenda and making it a condition for peace. In October 2024, he presented to the parliament victory plan, and he said that joining NATO is the most important thing, and long-range missiles for Ukraine are the most important thing. And he made this the victory plan, but it's ridiculous. It's impossible. And to be clear, I believe that he stands behind many schemes of money laundering. And one of the stories is that I have a friend who was shortlisted for the position of the Ministry of Social Policies during the large-scale invasion. And he was called, and he said that he was one of 5 candidates. And he would be interviewed by Zelensky and Mr. Yermak, then Chief of Staff of President Zelensky. And he was told that during the interview, he would need to come up with the schemes of money laundering so that they are financed from the Ministry of Social Policy. And Ministry of Social Policy is the ministry that is responsible for pensions. So when we're talking about those poor pensioners, and knowing the fact that Zelensky himself approves the schemes of money laundering, is he guilty? I want your audience to respond to that, okay? Do you understand the desperate? But I believe that, people need to understand that if you want to support Ukraine, the only way to support Ukraine today is to push for the peace deal. This is the only way that Ukraine can survive, because I believe we are on the verge of extinction. Somebody is talking about 2-3 years of war anymore. It just doesn't come up with numbers, with demography, with anything, with all those suffering that's happening in the country.
Tell me, no, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I agree. I'm not Ukrainian, but I don't understand the point of this. I have many questions about how and why it started, but what's beyond question is Ukraine as a nation is being eliminated. That's obvious to me. Biggest country in Europe, so it's a big deal. Since you mentioned numbers, how many people live in Ukraine? So when you started working for Zelensky, you worked for the government of Ukraine, 2019. How many Ukrainians were there in Ukraine?
So officially, Ukraine is the country of 42 million people. But we had the last census, I think, in 2000 or 2001, and we did not manage to organize another one. So when I was working for the government, government officials, including Zelensky, were telling the numbers that they believed there are 37 millions of Ukrainians in the country. Now, with around 10 plus million of Ukrainians turning into refugees, going to the West, some stay in occupation, Eastern countries, and even some in Russia, perhaps there are around 25 million Ukrainians in the country. And the worst thing is that 11 million of them are retired people. And these retired people live for the pensions from $75 to $180 to $200 per month. And Ukraine is not that super cheap country where you can actually survive for this money. Evil, but Zelensky is also an evil. He's just a hidden one. He plays such a teddy bear, on camera, but then when the light goes off, he's a grizzly bear and he destroys the people. It's almost surreal to recollect that almost every Western leader and Western delegations that were coming to Ukraine before the war, they treated Zelensky as a political novice. They saw he was low educated, unqualified, and low depth. But then overnight, he just turned into this great face of democracy.
Yes.
But it feels like the West created the myth, fell into it, and, that the West keeps ignoring the fact that beneath that Zelensky's rhetoric, heroic rhetoric, he keeps accumulating power. And I'm not afraid to say he keeps hollowing the very same people he claims to save. First of all, he's not a person whom you see on camera. He's a very different person. He changes masks all the time. He is emotionally uncontrollable.
Emotionally uncontrollable.
Yeah, he doesn't control his emotions. He's often hysterical, and he thinks that every person is disposable. He doesn't have empathy that he plays. He's absolutely insanely great actor, and that brought us a lot of support in 2022. But his acting doesn't have any substance, and everything that he is saying, it's so detached from the reality.
Yes.
And majority of the things that he's saying, it's either manipulation, or it's a fact that is being taken from the context, or it's pure lies. And millions of people still believe that supporting Zelensky means supporting Ukraine. But
Yes.
today it's different. And Tucker, I would like to say, I'm not here.
יד ימינו של זילנסקי נשפט על פרשת שחיתות. התובעים טוענים שהוא הלבין הון בסך כ-10.5 מיליון דולר באמצעות מתחם מגורים יוקרתי בשם דינסטי ליד קייב, תוך שימוש בחברות קש ומסמכים פיננסיים מזויפים. זהו חלק מתוכנית שחיתות רחבה יותר של 100 מיליון דולר הקשורה לאנרגואטום, חברת הגרעין הממשלתית של אוקראינה. כמה שרים, סגן ראש ממשלה לשעבר ושותף עסקי של זילנסקי כבר היו מעורבים.